Council and Committee on Tuesday, March the 5th. Dean, call to order, please.
Mover and a seconder, please.
Brian and Wendy.
Moved by Councillor Hughley, second by Councillor Hewitt, that the Council and Committee meeting of March 5th, 2024 be called to order at 5:30.
All in favor? Carried. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett.
Present.
Reeve Watt.
Present.
Councillor Gauthier.
Present.
Councillor Hewitt.
Present.
Councillor Hughley.
Present.
Councillor King.
Present.
Councillor Wren.
Present.
All members present.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Alan and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Gauthier, that the agenda of the Council and Committee meeting of March 5th, 2024 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. No delegations. Motion, no public planning meeting. Alan and Betty.
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor King, that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act hereby declare a public meeting open at 5:30.
All in
Zoning
favor?
bylaw amendment, zoning bylaw file number Z 2024-01 Raglan, consent B 61/22.
All in favor? Carried. Hi, Laurie. We'll let you start off with the Raglan zoning bylaw.
Certainly. So we have one public meeting for a zoning bylaw amendment tonight, and it's file number Z 2024-01. So a combined notice of application and notice of this public meeting was issued in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. And the purpose of this amendment is to satisfy a condition of consent for County of Renfrew consent application file number B6122 by rezoning the proposed retained lot to allow for the construction of a residential dwelling. So there's an existing detached single dwelling on the proposed severed lot. So the effect of the amendment is to establish the rural exception 90 RUE 90 zone to reduce the minimum setback for a new dwelling from 150 meters to 95 meters from the extractive industrial reserve zone. And the amendment would also rezone the subject lands from rural to rural exception 90 RUE 90. So these lands are located on Acre Road and are part of 121 Acre Road within part lot 29, concession 16 in the geographic township of Alice. So again, this is a public meeting that in order to preserve any rights for appeal under the Planning Act, that it's the time to either provide written or verbal comments, either in support of or opposition to the amendment, and anybody is allowed to do that, and that does preserve the ability to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal should they feel the need to do so. And again, it is because it is a public meeting, a part of a public process, as one of the Planning Act advices, it's that this is a reminder that it's open and accessible meetings, and all written submissions, documents, correspondence, and emails, including names, addresses, form part of the public record and will be disclosed as required per the Act or to those interested parties deemed appropriate. And again, the notice was issued on the 14th day of February 2024, and the site was posted accordingly as well. We did receive a couple of phone calls regarding the application, but it was really clarification on the severance and what the severed and retained were doing. So just to reaffirm, because of that, just not always are severance applications descriptions of retained and severed, what people are actually retaining versus what they're severing. Often it's the smaller lot that will be the severed lot because of survey costs. So in this case, although the severed lot is the house that would be retained by the current owner, but where the severed lot is the larger holding where there would be a new house that would be able to be constructed. And there was an aggregate impact assessment report that was provided as part of the information supporting the severance application and the zoning bylaw amendment that showed that this won't have a further detrimental impact on the ability, should there be a future gravel pit in the area, because it's in line with other existing houses, so it's no closer than those.
Okay, thanks, Laurie. Any questions of council? Do we have anybody online? No. So any questions from the public? Okay, seeing none. Motion, Alan, Betty?
Moved by Counselor Wren, second by Counselor King, that the council and committee meeting approves the application for zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2024-01 Raglan, consent file B61/22, and recommends that the council forward bylaw number 2024-03-013 as presented to the bylaw portion of the regular council meeting of March 19th, 2024 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. That's it, Wayne. Good luck. Motion to adjourn the public meeting. Brian and Keith.
Moved by Counselor Ugly, second by Reeve Watt, that the council of Township of Laurentian Valley hereby declare the public meeting of March 5th, 2024 be adjourned at 5:35.
All in favor? Carried. Under business, Laurie subdivision, Cooper.
Yes, so we did receive a request for extension of draft plan approval for Cooper subdivision. Again, as noted in my report, this is the 8th request for extension. I did question the property owner on, if there were reasons why, and also, if there were ideas of timing to move forward. And also that advised him that the township would be open to discussing different phasing if that would assist with moving forward. And essentially, he's kind of looking at costs at this point in time, and he's still not looking to move forward. So at this time, I am, recommending the motion be supported. But I think the caveat again is that time moves on. Should sometime in the future, as more development comes on board, that there could come a time where council may have to weigh developments against one another in terms of capacity because again, we're talking our 8th extension if this keeps on continuing while there's increasing other development.
Brian.
Now, we've discussed it multiple times about every time they ask for an extension, they have to pay $1,000 to the county because there's paperwork and administrative costs involved with it, but we have not got any charges related to that, and we keep talking about having a charge for that, and certainly, maybe the first or second might be a gimme, but when you get up to 8 times, it's...
And just to reinforce with that, so the bylaw that council did just pass in February that brought into effect for March 1st does bring in a charge. And fortunately, this one did just squeak in beforehand. So, so the county charge will still apply, but definitely next year there will be a charge applied to this, and any others coming forward this year, there would be a charge applied. So, it is in the tariff of fees bylaw that council did pass.
Keith, go ahead. Keith, you're muted right now.
Mute.
Sorry about that. I think the other thing that's missing is that the province and the federal government, there's options for affordable housing coming out, and I don't know how well versed the owner of this subdivision may be on that, but he may be losing out by going another year without.
Okay. So, Alan?
Laurie, do you remember what the fee is? Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. I figured you might be asking me. I will circle back on that. I think it was in the range of $500, but I apologize. I had that to have it in my head, and I have many numbers right now in my head.
Okay. So, anything further from council? Motion?
Motion, please.
Wendy and Jennifer?
Moved by Counselor Hewitt, second by Counselor Gauthier, that the council of the Township of Laurentian Valley supports the request for an extension to the draft plan approval for County Renfrew subdivision file number 47T 13,003, Cooper subdivision, and request that the County of Renfrew approve the extension as requested.
All in favor? Carried. Subdivision file 472, 10,004, Traxton Holding. Laurie.
Yes, so we have been approached with Traxton Holdings. We are getting to the end point in terms of finalizing the details for final approval of that plan of subdivision. So one of the things to tie into finalizing with the subdivision agreement is the related to the security. So we did receive a request from Traxton Holdings to consider an alternate approach, which the township has adopted on at least one other application in the last 10 to 15 years, which was the Taylor Heights subdivision. And what it is that rather than providing a certified check in the amount of the securities or a letter of credit, it's whether council would be willing to accept a performance bond along with the dedication of a lot that would be held in the township ownership that would only be released again when all of the warranty period is over with the works that are required as part of the subdivision. The difference between this discussion and the discussion we had last summer related to site plans was that with the site plans, there's nothing that's created that could be essentially provided almost like an extra collateral for the township, where with the subdivision, there is that ability to hold a lot as additional security. They have provided as well the estimate of costs for what the works would be, and the Township Public Works Manager is in the process of finalizing his review of that to concur with them, but we're in the range of about $1.4 million would be the amount of the security. So then again, the performance bond would be what would be held plus a lot. And with the performance bond, again, as explained in some past correspondence from our township solicitor, it works sort of like insurance that you would draw down upon if there's if we had to go in and do the works.
Council Allen.
So we have no issue moving forward, Laurie, that we're creating a prerequisite that another subdivision would come along that wouldn't maybe be in as good a standing as these last two subdivisions that use this performance bond. I'm just concerned that somebody else down the road that we may not want to accept that from them, but we've now set a precedent doing it in two subdivisions that we almost have to accept the performance bond. Do you see that as an issue?
Well, I can speak to is that, so our most recent subdivision previous to this was the Kirkland subdivision. And so with that one, we did do a full, they did do a letter of credit. I think it's something that at this point in time, we still have the ability to look at each one. I mean, we're still aware that there are discussions at that provincial level about that potential for the province to allow developers to dictate to a municipality what form their securities would be in. And certainly the performance bond was something that was being discussed, and so that may become a reality that's going to be more common. And I know there are some other areas that they do use that more commonly, but at this point in time, this would be a request that would come back through to council, so at least you have that opportunity to consider the potential risks versus which developer, and I guess the other thing is who's a developer that's actually doing the works themselves as well too, which may weigh into it.
Okay, thanks.
I guess just maybe to add to that, I understand what you're suggesting. I mean, it is kind of site-specific. We can adapt how we feel. It just becomes the more we do it, obviously, the political pressure gets a little harder. Yeah. But I think that, as Laurie stated, I mean, it's site-specific. We can still hold ourselves depending on just having reasons and decisions to make, that's all. Yeah.
Just as you go down that road, like you say, it gets more and more difficult to say no when because they start pointing fingers and say, well, you did it for him, and you did it for him, and
no.
Brian.
Yeah, I just think from a developer standpoint, when you have to put 100% of the value down as security and also have the 100% to do the work, that looking at other creative ways to have that security allows them to actually finish the job and maybe get some of these subdivisions completed and rolling.
So how guaranteed is this performance bond? Like, are we putting us at risk by doing the performance bond? Are we 100% guaranteed we're going to get our money if it falls apart?
Yeah, so I think speaking back to, so our Sheldon Reiki, our township solicitor, did provide some information back in last July related to how performance bonds work as well. And the understanding is that it is a little bit more like an insurance policy that you do draw down on it. And where the risk would be is if there is a dispute that they say it's done and we say it's not done, then there's that ability to slow that down, that the company holding the bond may, swing one way or the other. So then you are bringing your lawyer into it. But I think that would be in more extreme, situations. And I guess the only other thing to kind of bring it back around, I don't, while I've been, working with the township, whether it be site plan or whether it be subdivision, up to this point, we haven't had a time where we've had to go in and actually finish the works ourselves. So, I look a little bit of, comfort to that. So I think, certainly might be a different discussion if it's just the performance bond. But because we're at least also looking at a lot that then has a value that we could sell, and it's not, it wouldn't be an open space kind of lot, like it is a residential lot in the plan. So if, per the agreement, there would be terms that if we're drawing down upon it, we do still hold that kind of in addition to the performance bond.
And I understand that, for this subdivision in particular, have we already agreed on dollars instead of parkland, or we're not there yet?
Yes, we previously did approve we did have the appraisal report, so there will be cash in lieu of parkland so we'll have that cash as well. And then I'm not sure, I mean, we can defer to Mark. I'm not sure if he's comfortable with the securities, the estimate of the works that would give you that at least understanding of where those costs are falling.
So basically, at the end of the day, what we're doing is opening up the possibility of a legal cost down the road, if it ever came to that, with any developer.
Yes, if there was a dispute over, and it could be as simple as that it's not done, you're requesting and you're drawing down upon it. It's where there's a dispute about that could involve some extra legal costs.
But in either scenario, that could happen. Even with the full amount, there still could be a dispute between Mark and the developer to say that the road's not up to what our standard is, and they say, yes, it is. So you still have that, it still opens that door on either side, right? Yeah,
it's just how the funds are held, whether they're held here or there, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Have a motion? Sorry? Oh, Keith, I'm sorry. Let's make that picture bigger.
Sorry. With this recent request, will that bring on additional legal fees? And if so, does the owner of the subdivision pay those?
So just through the request, that in itself doesn't, because it's just part of the subdivision agreement language that we're be covered under those current costs. And if there's, a little bit of extra time to develop that extra language, well, that is something that is paid for, by the developer as part of the actual legal fees that are rebuilt back. Certainly it's something that we can speak with Sheldon on as well. And perhaps there's another way to expand some additional language as well around the fact that if there is a dispute, that if there is some way to kind of that it's also acknowledged that they would be responsible for any municipal legal costs. So I can certainly explore that as an additional part of the provisions with Sheldon as well for the agreement.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion? Brian and Keith?
Moved by Councillor Ugly, second by Reeve Watt, that the council supports the request by Traxton Holdings Limited to provide a performance bond as form of security for Traxton subdivision file number 47T 10,004, subject to a lot in the plan of subdivision also being transferred to the Corporation Township of Laurentian Valley as additional security and subject to additional provision in the subdivision agreement be added to by the township solicitor.
All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Larry. We're down to subcommittees, Pembroke area airport.
Just to let you know that we're going to be at Whitewater Council. Just to let everybody know, we're going to be at Whitewater Council tomorrow afternoon. We're giving their municipality a yearly update on the airport, something new that we have started and we're going to be doing with all the municipalities. So the request will be coming from the Airport Commission for us to appear before this council and all other owner councils in the very near future.
Good, thank you. Emergency management, Laurie?
Sorry, I guess just the one thing that I will update is we, are on our watch now in terms of starting our regular Freshette meeting. So we will certainly keep council and the public advised through our website should there be anything. At this point, it's very early and there's no, cause for alarm, but just to reaffirm, for those members of the public who are along the Ottawa River as well, that we are indeed watching and are going to provide information as it's available.
Certainly it'll be a different spring if it continues the way it is. There's not much water out there, and you're not gonna get any snow from the north. And somebody mentioned the Madawaska is very low, but yet the Ottawa is maybe a little bit higher than normal. But, yeah. Anyways, time will tell. Thanks, Laurie. Down to corporate services. Sean, strategic plan.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the recommendation that you have in front of you tonight is for the Corporate Services Committee to receive the draft strategic directions and provide comments, and then we can speak about next steps. Now, I do have with us tonight is our former Community Development Officer, Katie, who has put a lot of work into this since the very beginning. Did a lot of the, I would say, the heavy lifting when it comes to interpreting all the data and putting together the attachment that you have. So with that, I'll turn it to Katie to maybe speak about the background and how we got to where we are.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sean. So nice to see everybody again. It's been a little while, so it's nice to be back here, virtually at least. So as Sean mentioned, we started this process back in May when we began looking at the next steps forward, as our current strategic plan at the time was ending in 2023. So we decided, Sean and I, as a former CDO and the treasurer, decided to kind of take a two-pronged approach, that we would keep a lot of this in-house, but also consult and engage with the Delphi group as a third party to facilitate a lot of the internal and some external interviews with stakeholders. So a little bit of the methodology, just as a refresher. So we began everything in the spring of 2023. We had various outlets for the public to engage. The Delphi group did some focus groups internally, externally with key stakeholders. We did a mixed approach when it comes to surveying the public by way of print surveys, online polls. We did some contests, and we're out at public events just to really get a mixed approach and to get as much engagement as we can. We were really happy with the results. I will say overall, it exceeded our expectations of what we're projecting. So we're very happy with that. So we went in depth a little bit more with the Delphi group and hosted some staff and recreation group half-day sessions that really allowed us to engage and provide thought and opinion. This was also fulfilled with council as well. From there, we took all the data in-house and we consolidated it, interpreted it, and we're now presenting you with the final outcome. So we'll kind of go through a little bit of the discussion about that, and then kind of look a little bit more in detail of next steps, and then we'll open it up for discussion with the group.
So when we look at the document, the attachment that you have, it will look a little bit different than the previous one. The previous one was very in-depth and quite lengthy. This document that we've provided is meant to be a high-level guiding document. And the reason behind that, I mean, both kinds of theories or both kinds of approaches have their pros and cons, but with, going through the COVID pandemic and then with potential changes in upper levels of government, and we can't really predict the future, more high-level steering document allows us to be a little bit more nimble as opposed to tied into coming up with today over the next goals for the next 4 years of projects that we'd like to complete. So the point of this is this document will be a high-level document to guide individual staff or individual departments' work plans to hopefully ultimately meet the objectives of our mission and vision. But when you look at the document, the first part you'll have is the preamble, and this really is just meant to give the reader an understanding of what the document is, and that's what we have here. It gives a little bit of the background and explains why we're doing this, why we took on doing this exercise, and what this document means to us. The next section is the mission statement. And the mission statement is to describe to the reader why we exist. So it's really about the here and now, not so much what's going to happen in the future, but why we are who we are, why we come to work every day, and why you come to these tables every day or every couple of weeks and make decisions. And we've shortened the mission statement to be a little bit more concise. And throughout the workshops, we heard many people and many groups describe how important a sense of community is to them, so that it was a really overarching theme. And with this mission statement, we, the township, are acknowledging that we do exist to provide our residents with an elevated quality of life, and we chose that word carefully, and with a high sense of community, because people really spoke about that this is a really great place to live, and that they feel that it does provide them with, a very good quality of life, and that sense of belonging to the community. So that's, I think, really important to understand of why we do what we're doing each day, and that's why we put that into the mission statement as is. The vision statement. So this, is to be forward-looking and to describe to whoever's reading this document where we want to go. So we're not at that stage today, and it's not meant to be at that stage today. It's supposed to be this goal, down at the end zone of where we want to, what we're doing over the next 4 years to hopefully move closer to achieving this vision. Again, we made this a little bit more precise. And we're saying it should be, the theme is really to connect the community. So we heard a lot about, internet, and we heard a lot about pathways, and also the social fabric of connecting. So not just physically connecting and having areas to go to, but do we have places to go and get that social aspect? So, a great example would be all the rec groups that we have that put on all the programming that they do, right? That makes people feel connected. So we came up with to be a connected community, and we haven't really maybe have an Oxford definition of a connected community, but like let your imagination go of what that would mean to say that we want to be a fully connected community by linking our residents and businesses to what they need to achieve and have that elevated quality of life. Then as we move down the page, we get to core values. And these are meant to be the deeply ingrained principles. So how we act. And these weren't necessarily maybe taken from exactly what people were providing us feedback on. But if you dug a little bit deeper into what people were providing us, you can understand that as a public sector entity, and that we tax for the revenue, we tax for the service we provide, that value for money is very important. We obviously want to eliminate waste and not, we want to be finding the best bang for the buck, if you will, for the service we provide. And then act with integrity and ethically. Again, we're a public sector entity, and trust is really imperative. In the township, we are acknowledging basically that we will not only maintain, but we want to increase the trust that people have. I think today it's natural that at all levels of government and all levels of public funds, I think people are very skeptical. It's tough right now, and I think we want to ensure that we're acting with integrity. And integrity to me, and I think to the group, is do the right thing even though someone's not looking. I mean, that's the standard we want to hold ourselves to. And then professionalism. We are a multi-million-dollar organization, and we are in care of tens of millions of dollars worth of assets, and thus we want to ensure that we're acting professionally, and that residents and businesses can be proud and respect and understand that the decisions we're making, maybe they don't agree with them, but that they're coming from a place of professionalism. We're doing our homework, and we think that we want to ensure that staff and council, staff are competent, and we give staff the tools to provide, council the right information to make the decisions for taking care of this multi-million-dollar organization. And then transparency, and I'll let Katie speak to it a little bit more. Maybe we go down into the communication, but it was very apparent that residents and businesses are looking for more transparency and want to ensure that they're involved in any kind of public consultations, and ensure that information is put out there so that they're aware of the decisions that are being made. So these are the things, these 4 pillars, if you will, or 4 circles, or whatever we want to call them here, are what staff need to kind of live in, day out to, or when we come to work, to ensure that this machine keeps running. So now, when you get to the next section, I'll pass back to Katie to speak about the strategic directions, the higher arching strategic directions.
So we synthesized the data and consolidated it into 4 strategic directions. The 4 strategic directions really came with a lot of fine tuning to really kind of cipher all the information that we've received, and we feel really strongly and proud with the directions that we were able to interpret. The first being that came up very often and very proudly was to embrace the rural identity. LV is very proud to have a rural identity and to hold that true in everything that we do. Not to negate the urban side, but it's just something that people feel very passionate and powerful about. And it's something that we need to consider in the decisions and how we move forward and have that at the forefront of who we are. And the next that came up, kind of like what Sean just said about transparency, was communication. And this is an important reminder that people want to know and receive information in different formats that are available to them. So it's looking at a mixed approach of traditional and emerging communication methods, and not forgetting the traditional side of those communication elements too. And also an important element is to provide feedback. So this came up time and time again in various formats from the whole scope and a wide range of demographics, that communication and prioritizing that is key. The next strategic direction was invest responsibly in assets and programs. So we have heard from our residents that they expect to at least remain or at the current levels that currently exist, if not improve. So therefore, we just need to understand and always be cognizant of the assets that we hold, and to be proud and to ensure that as the demands change, that we're considering the needs of our assets and delivering them, or being able to, people can receive them in formats that are up to standards. The last one was to enhance active and social living. This one was a really big one that came up for a wide scope of demographics. So as it's changing, the demand for non-traditional services will increase as well. And so our residents are looking for ways to connect. They're looking, and that's where we tie into that connected community. They're looking for ways to connect, not just physically, but socially as well. So we want to ensure that to continue to live, to enjoy living in Laurentian Valley, that we're providing those opportunities for a wide scope of demographics. It's something that, we're really bringing to the forefront in a lot of our decisions, but we need to be cognizant of that at all times. So these 4 directions are to guide us in the decisions that we make. We want to implement these in everything that we do. So, when we're creating reports, we're creating recommendations, we're tying it back to our strategic directions. Are we ensuring that we're holding ourselves accountable to the direction that we're going? Or is it in alignment with one of these 4 directions? And are we delivering on what we said we're going to deliver by way of, hearing from our residents and ensuring that we're being true to the scope and the identity of Laurentian Valley as a whole, and to our ratepayers as well. So these are the 4 directions that we came up with that will be guiding us forward. And again, just to kind of iterate, this document was intended to be very concise and to be presented in a format that is easy to be adopted and understood. So it's not just going to be an internal document for us to use. We want this forward facing, and we want the public to engage with it. Again, aligning with pillar number 2 about prioritizing communication, we want people to be able to have access to this and understand it. So that is where we are with the strategic directions. We're just going to outline a few of our next steps, and then we'll receive some feedback.
Thank you, Katie. So for next steps, so obviously we want your feedback and your comments, and your advice, and because ultimately this is your plan or your document that you'll have staff implement. And then the idea is, once it kind of gets finalized and we're happy with where it is, then it would a little bit of work for the CAO to ensure that department heads, formulate work plans that can tie into this. And then when we bring back council reports, that we have a section in the report that speaks to either how this report meets either the mission, vision, core values, or strategic direction, so that we're always tying it back into the plan. And then we have that annually the CAO will prepare a report that outlines the progress that the township has made as it relates to the directions that outlined in the plan. So that we're bringing it back, and then as it's a living document, if, you know, in a year from now or 2 years from now, that something's changed or we think something needs to be edited, you know, we can make that at that time, so that doesn't just, so it keeps kind of living forward. So with that, we'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor, for any questions from the group or comments.
Question, Betty?
The detailed strategies and goals by each department, are they going to be for the whole plan, or are they bi-yearly, or is it going to vary?
So I'll speak to it from how I envision it for me, and because I think each department, it might be a little different, but if I go with Dean for, say, to sit down for my yearly, you know, set goals and set my priorities for my group or the finance group, that would be annual. And then when I'm meeting with Dean on, you know, whether it's, we speak quite frequently, but if we're speaking to our progress throughout the year, maybe it'd be quarterly to kind of touch in where are we on these goals, or what you're doing, kind of, how's it being guided by this plan? So I would see me personally making a work plan annually, and then it might have to get modified as the year goes on based on what's happening, but that's how I envision for my department anyway.
So it won't be like the old plan where it's just kind of open and it takes all 4 years to get it developed, like each department can be
Correct.
different.
Correct, yes.
And maybe just add as well, is obviously it's a guiding document, so every kind of, and I think Sean alluded to it with regards to reports, obviously the report should look, and you should be addressing, you know, the core values and make sure that's being addressed, as well as strategic directions, how that fits in. And we may kind of tweak the format of the report just to maybe put those boxes in there so they're checked off as we go. So which one does this one address and don't address, kind of thing. So we'll take some time to figure out how that is addressed departmentally, because we have done our performance appraisals at this point. But having said that, departmentally, just even to start with reports so that council feels comfortable that we're heading in the direction that they're agreeing to at this point.
Okay, Al?
So I guess one thing in the development of this, we talked about it on how it's going to be a living document, and what I would like to see is any time throughout the year council has something brought to the table by staff, that it relates back to how it fits into the strategic plan, and so that it makes sense and everybody knows that it is a living, working document, and we're actually not just going to put it on the shelf and revisit it again in 4 years.
Yeah, I think it needs to be more of a looked at document, yearly, monthly, whenever it need to be. Again, like Al said, rather than sitting on the shelf and every little while we kind of look at it and say, well, what did we do from that document, kind of thing. So I think you're in the right direction. I think you're doing a great job, you guys, so far. Looks great. So where do you want council, is the plan for the staff is the next step and then comes back to council, or do you want council involved now? Maybe you can.
Well, I think if you know, if you can provide comment, if you know, maybe if you're not comfortable right now, let's say with the mission and vision and core values, but I think it would be, you know, does what we've prepared as the mission, vision, core values, and strategic direction, does that make sense, or do you want that amended? Do you want it a different message, a different lens on it? I think that's the direction we're looking for at this point in time. So it's how, yeah.
Keith?
Actually, I like it. I think it'll be easy for council to follow, and I think it will relate with the everyday person out in our communities. I also like Alan's suggestion that you bring back and you relate each of these to the core functions, as opposed to a detailed plan which each department is going to be working on. That's the staff's business, but we evaluate then based on how it fits into these core values.
Okay, Al, you have something more?
Yeah, I would say you hit the nail right on the head. I like it. I think it's good. It's concise. It's not a whole bunch of stuff. I think it's something that we can all actually use, and it seems like it will be easy to use, so I actually think you hit the nail right on the head. I don't think there needs to be any changes to it at this point.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we'll leave it at that for now then.
So maybe just in finale, because I know Katie and Sean have put a lot of work into this, so I certainly want to thank them for leading that path. It is, I agree with Alan, it's very concise and it's very easy to follow and understand, so we'll try and make some steps in there to keep it going. Like I said, to every report should kind of address which functions it in, and if we can't make it address, then obviously we're not going in the right direction, so that might be our lead. So again, thanks to Katie and Sean for leading this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm just going to jump in just really quickly. I do really want to thank Katie. She I can't say enough. She did like all of the heavy lifting on this. Okay, I met with her. We bounced the ball back and forth, I guess, on where we want to go, but put a ton of work into it. And I think I also want to thank the Delphi group, Ray Bonenberg and Paul, and I'm blanking on her last name, but they helped us out quite a bit. And then obviously with council, your support and participation, and staff. I know we had the 2 days of 2 half days, and they came in and they took it seriously, and they provided feedback, and that was important for this whole thing to work. And the people that came out for the community events, that was very important as well. So thank you, and thank you, Katie, very much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Sean. I know I couldn't do without you. And then I did want to just mention too, thanks to our steering committee, and thanks for everyone for having faith in this project and seeing it through to where we took it. We took it in a completely different direction than what we've done in the past, and so I'm happy that you guys all had confidence in us to be able to produce this, and we feel confidently now that the final product is something that we can adopt and iterate into the day-to-day. So thanks everyone for that.
Thank you. Thanks again. Good seeing you, Katie.
Nice seeing you all.
Okay,
Move her in a second, please.
Betty and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor King, second by Councillor Goche, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee receive the draft 2024 to 2028 strategic directions and provide comments and direction to staff to update for the adoption at the March 19th, 2024 council meeting.
All in favor? Carried. Sean, development charge.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So this is an annual report that's legislated for me to update you on the development charges from the fiscal year that we just finished, which is 2023. So on September 1st, just to reiterate how we came about here, that council executed bylaw 2020-09-039, which is a development charge bylaw. And section 14 of that bylaw is what requires me to update you before March 31st on how we did in collecting development charges in the previous fiscal year. Next page here. The fiscal year we had is the fourth year that this bylaw, fiscal year 2023, sorry, is the fourth year the bylaw was in effect, and we collected 21 development charges in the amount of $107,398.54. And we earned on our development charge bank account $6,008.25 of interest. So the amount of money going into the development charge bank account or addition is $113,406.79, and that means that moving into 2024 in that reserve fund, there's $185,303.28. And if you flip to the schedule, you can see how that breaks out to the different types, like the different pillars, I guess, or the different sections, where the opening balance of contributions were, etc. So with that, this is to update you on how we did. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to assist.
Any questions? No. We have a motion for that?
Yes, we do.
Alan and Brian?
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Hughley, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommend to Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley to approve the 2023 Development Charge Report as prepared by the Treasurer.
All in favor? Carried. Investment report?
Okay, again, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another annual report. This one, I'll be honest, I haven't had much experience doing one of these reports, and this really is for council. I wanted council to get this first before it went to the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Center, because we hold their investments for them, and this will be going to their board meeting on Thursday. But we have an investment policy, and really it states that there's 4 or 5 guiding principles for our investments. They're very, I think, was what you would expect for municipal investments. I mean, we want to adhere to the statutory requirements, ensure that we're preserving capital, liquid, so that if we need to draw on them, we could. Diversify, which I think everybody wants to ensure they have diversification in their investments, and then yield essentially is the return. There's 2 streams of investments. There's some through Scotia McLeod, and then there's one investment. So the way the report, I break them down in between the 2 of them. I think I'll go to the second paragraph of the one investment, because the book value, I mean, really, it's not as important, I don't think, at this point, than the market value is really what it's worth. So the market value of the one investment at the start of the year was about $1.8 million. And at the end of the year is, $2,389,737. So it increased $580,000, almost $581,000. This is mostly due to we transferred from Scotia Wealth One when some investments came due. We transferred them from Scotia to one investment, so that was $260,000. There was $102,000 of reinvested income and capital gains, and then the change in the market value. So the change in what we owned, I guess, due to the market and how the market was going, increased also $218,000. In Scotia Wealth Management, we started the year there with $1,293,875, and we ended with $1,091,000 and $1,091,239, which was a decrease of about $202,000. So the reason for that decrease was we took out $260,000 and transferred it from Scotia Wealth Management over to the one investment. Then we had interest received of about $45,000, and then there was a change in market value of $11,816. So all that being said, the one investment account returned 17.2%, or if since inception has returned 17.2%, and was 8%. And since inception is 8%, sorry, returned 17.2%, and then the Scotia Wealth Management returned 4.69%. So that really probably shouldn't mean too much. I mean, I'm not an investment expert, and it's a bit of a different exercise. I think the most important thing is the start of the year, we had a market value of $3.1 million in both investments. And at the end of the year, we have a market value of $3.4 million, and it's 12.2% increase. So I think that's the key. So it was a good year. So, and I think it says somewhere in our policy that I'm supposed to say that all the investments adhered to the applicable legislation. So this will go to the Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board so long as you direct me to take it there.
I think the plan, like 260 when that came due, I think eventually all the money is going to move over to one investment, correct? Because the one investment is a group of many municipalities getting a better interest rate. Is that sort of how that works, or? Yeah,
so that is the direction that the Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board gave, I guess, the former treasurer, and that is what Scotia Wealth Management's direction is. One investment is through LAS, so it is a municipal group. In speaking with Scotia Wealth Management, they think they can return what one investment can. I think it's just, if I had to guess, it's just maybe more comfortability with one investment because it's deals mostly with municipalities and public sector entities. So that's why that money is being funneled over. It's going to take some time.
Absolutely.
And because the way they set them up to keep that liquidity is a lot of things are becoming due at different times. So it's, as they mature, they get moved over to one investment.
Good. Thank you. Any questions, council? Motion? Brian and Alan?
Moved by Councillor Hughley, second by Councillor Wren, that the Corporate Service and Protection Committee recommend Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley forward the 2023 investment report to the Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board.
All in favor? Carried. Chief?
I thought you were.
You're already talking about money, Tim. Welcome tonight, Tim. I guess maybe first of all.
Thank you.
Council have any questions on the report? I know it's been a very busy month. It was a busy month.
It's the last 3 months have been, I was thinking the way, we've had basically 5 structures in 3 months, okay? Which is, and 3 of them were major structures, so it's, yeah, it's been busy. I don't know, it's just one of those things, the whole area's had a lot of structures, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's just, I don't know what to blame it on, but that's just the way it's been, so.
So no questions on the report? No. Extrication took over, started March 1st?
Yeah, we took over March 1st, and obviously that's one of those tools you hope you never have to use, but yeah, we're ready to go, so.
Right on.
Haven't used yet?
Pardon me?
Haven't had to use them yet?
No, no.
Don't want to.
that's good. We don't really,
Other than practicing.
we're still training.
Yeah.
We tore more cars apart in that thing. And I should put a little out to AIM in Pembroke there. They've donated all the cars and dropped all the cars over to us, and we've got to gone through 20 cars by now, okay? Wow. And they just keep bringing them. We keep saying we need 2 more, and they take them back. And when we did our main training through with the rescue out of Toronto, the guy, 2 days he set cars up for us to use, and they've been very, very good. And I just put a punch out to them. Thank you very much. So,
Right on.
yeah.
Okay, nothing else? That's it. Wendy?
I should know the answer to this, but I don't. Is all of your staff trained or just some of your staff for
Everybody.
extrication? Yeah.
Everybody.
Good.
Yeah, because of the way we're set up with our shift system, we have to have everybody. So everybody is at least qualified, what they consider qualified, which is what we need. And then, so, yeah, which is good, yeah.
Very
It's,
good.
So,
Okay, that's it. Thanks very much, Tim.
thank you.
Maybe pass on our thanks from council to your crew for handling all these fires, and I know it's taken up a lot of time for our volunteers, and for everything I've heard, they've done an excellent job, so.
Okay.
Alan?
Is it something maybe that we should write a letter signed by the mayor and the chief, fire chief to AIM, thanking them for everything that they've done, that they can hang it on their wall or whatever, just in recognition?
That would be very nice, I think, because, like they've gone beyond, for what they've done, so.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, we'll look after that.
Okay,
Thanks, Tim.
thank you.
Have a good night. Animal control report. Any questions for Dean? Seeing none. Festival Hall. Betty.
As you all know, I hope everybody's seen in the news, we've got a major event coming up, a major fundraiser for some new audio equipment and visual equipment that we've now, or is being installed, I believe, in the facility. It's going to make it state-of-the-art. It's going to allow and provide capabilities for many different user groups that we weren't able to facilitate before. And it's just going to give it that extra edge that it needs. So it's April the 21st. The headliner is Elton Ron. It's an Elton John themed evening. And tickets are going fast, so everybody get in and buy their tickets. It's supposed to be an amazing evening.
So tickets are at Festival Hall?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you can do them online.
Okay, all right, thank you. Brian?
When you're doing all that AV stuff, are they incorporating backstage monitors in the wings and maybe in the back hall that they'd be able to see what's going on stage from backstage?
I will double check. I know there's quite a bit of equipment. I really didn't look into the list of stuff, but I know Yeah, there's a big theater screen coming in, and they're putting speakers upstairs where there were no speakers before, but I will mention that to the group.
But just a lot of the big dance troops and those sorts of things for their entrances and exits to see what's going on. And I know when we're there for the Festival of Stars coming up in a couple of weeks, it's the same thing. You're wanting to see what's happening on stage, and you don't want to be sticking your head out, but it would be nice to be able to see what is going on stage when you're.
So just repeat that again, monitors?
So TV monitors in both wings, and one out in the hall as well, because when you're assembling groups, it's nice to know where they are in the program and to be able to get them in at the right time and cue them in, so it's.
Yeah, just, Councilor, you could just maybe add to that. I believe they did a fairly good synopsis and engineered it all, so I would assume that's there, but certainly Councilor King can check, but they're, yeah. Good point.
Okay, Pembroke Library. Wendy?
We had met just a couple of weeks ago. The meeting minutes weren't completed yet, so they're not in your package, but they will be next month. One thing that's coming to the forefront of great concern is the amount of people that are using the library for not library usage, we'll say that. We have some homeless issues, and there's some drug issues that are happening, and so the library is looking at maybe getting extra security. So those are some of the concerns this month.
Yes, I did speak to Kathy when I visited the library a couple of weeks ago, and seems to be right after lunchtime, middle of the afternoon seems to be the busiest time for folks coming from the grind, and especially on the cold days as well.
It is, and I've actually personally been contacted by some families that are maybe not going to use the library if this continues, because it's a concern bringing their young children in, and seniors don't feel comfortable, which is very disheartening to hear.
Okay, Mark, Public Works, tender results.
Good evening, Mayor Bennett and members of council. The report tonight is for the recommendation for the approval of 4 public works tenders. We had 4 tenders called on February 15th for various contracts, including winter sand, paving work, supply and application of granular A, and crack sealing. Then all the tenders closed on February 29th. As per procurement, our tenders were advertised in newspaper, social media, and on our website. We did get bid submissions for all 4 of the contracts. The response was good, getting 11 submissions for the projects. The only one that we received a single submission on was the crack sealing, but in that contract, the price was actually identical to what it was in 2023. So with things increasing, it was we were still safe to to feel that we were okay with the award with the single submission for that. The tender opening was here in the council chambers. Reeve Watt was present, along with several staff members. The project deadlines vary, but all projects are to be completed by August 23rd, 2024. So again, with early passing of our budget, and staff have already got a detailed project schedule, which is worked into the contracts. We're at a good place, even if we had some rain delays, to basically be wrapped up by the beginning of September, which is our goal for this year, which is a good target for us to have. All of the projects for the operational and capital portions are within the budgeted amounts. We did have a few projects or tenders last year that we saw some sharp increases. Everything has remained stable, and our paving works is down. Not considerably, but it actually is a little bit lower than what last year was. Our granular A, winter sand are also on point, and a little bit less, and our crack sealing, as I mentioned, is the same as the previous year. So yeah, everything looks good for moving forward. There is sufficient funds in all of the budgets for the operating and capital that we had budgeted for, and I do have charts of the tender results, and the information is there if council has any questions.
Hey, Mark, between the 4 tenders that went out, it's about 150 below budget.
Yes, yeah,
total, so that's good.
yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
it's compared to what we were surprised
Exactly.
with.
Which road are we doing?
We can do another road.
Yeah, so, and that was, I know we had that discussion about possibly doing some roads in the Stafford built-up area.
Yes.
So, as we get going through and we start rolling through projects, we'll see where the funds are. But we do have contractors working in that Stafford built-up area with Roy Street, and it is the same paving contractor, who had got our contract and is part of that one. So, I know their deadline, I believe for Roy Street is later in September. So hopefully there's some ability if things are going well and we have some funds that we can tackle those 2 or 3 streets in the Stafford built up that we talked about.
Excellent. Good. So motion?
Yes.
Jennifer, Betty?
Moved by Counselor Gauthier, second by Counselor King, that the Public Works and Property Committee recommends that Township of Council approve the following tenders for the Public Works and Property Department. LVPW 2024-01, supply and application of granular A. LVPW 2024-02, paving works, various locations. LVPW 2024-03, crack sealing, various locations. And LVPW 2024-04, supply and stockpile of winter sand.
All in favor? Carried. Good job, Mark. Thank you. Waste Recovery Center, I really don't have anything to report. We have a meeting on Thursday, as Sean said. Community Development. Chris, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this month, as Councillor King already mentioned, I was invited to the Festival Hall meeting on February 13th, so a lot of exciting things going on there, including the Elton Ron, which was already previously mentioned. Water and Dirt Festival, so myself and Councillor Alan Wren were invited to attend the 2024 Water and Dirts Festival official launch and funding announcement on February 15th. We sent out a media release and we posted on our website and social media. The township will also be assisting with 3 events, which is the Forest Lee Trail Run, the Forest Lee Odyssey Gravel Race, which is a 75 kilometer and 100 kilometer race, which I personally won't be entering in, but we're excited to see the kind of people that are going to come to do that. And then we're also going to be hosting an awards ceremony after in August. So lots of exciting things, and that should bring a lot of people to our township and surrounding areas. I was delighted to be invited to the Ottawa Valley Business Summit, which was the first one in the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce AGM at Best Western Canada. It was informative, engaging, learned a lot of exciting things. A couple different grants, which I've now posted on our business support website for additional support for our businesses for training and other things. It was also great for networking, meeting peers and local businesses. And at the same time at that meeting, I was elected ex officio director for 2024 to kind of support the township's interests and also support our local businesses on a grander scale with our partnering municipalities. Grants, it's a very busy grant time, February, March, and a little bit into April. So I've embarked on several different applications for Laurentian Valley through existing capital projects and community partners projects as well. I've also submitted several reports and claims for existing grants that were done before my time here, but just stuff we have to follow up on. And that includes the Rural Economic Development Grant, the Ontario Trillium, Seniors Community Grant, which we actually are not going to do because the Fit and Feisty has got their hands full with what they're doing right now. The Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund, the Tree Planting Grant, ICIP Infrastructure, and ICIP COVID Final Claim, which was just an outstanding thing we had to do a last minute claim on. So lots going on in grants, and there's also quite a bit more coming out. So lots of opportunities for funding going into March as well, which I'll report next meeting. Local business support. So during the month of February, I love getting to meet entrepreneurs. It's very exciting part of this job. And so I've got to meet with a couple exciting new businesses as well existing businesses. So Lanny from Forges in Canada, which is hoping to open up in March. They're just waiting on some approvals. So that will be a blacksmith shop here, which is going to offer courses and various different things, and they're hoping to open up in March. So I'll be reporting to council as soon as I get the notice of that to do a grand opening. And they're going to be offering courses and training. So not necessarily forged in fire, but some exciting things for if you want to learn how to be a blacksmith. The Pembroke General Store, they're just waiting on their gas, but they're hoping to do grand opening in the next couple weeks, which they'll notify us of. Airborne Petawawa, this is an exciting one coming from the airport. I was able to meet with Area and Raul, and they are going to be, they're just waiting on their Navigation Canada, but they're hoping that they'll be able to open up in May. Exciting thing about this is they're going to be offering all the townships in our area a community discount. So all the partners of the airport. So anybody who's always want to jump out of a plane.
You'll be there for that one?
I'll be there. I was thinking to put a council team in, so I'll send out a notice once we get that's going. But that's pretty exciting. They're very nice people. It's going to be really good for our area. They're also going to be offering a military discount, and they're going to be doing a Getting Wounded Vets Airborne free monthly raffle. So very community-minded people, very forward-thinking people, and so it'll be a very exciting development. Bromley Acres Wagyu, they've announced their opening, which is down by my old stomping grounds on Forest Park Road. So they're going to be opening June 22nd, so that's their grand opening there. And then Lori actually got me onto Ward from the International Knife Throwing Hall of Fame, which was a business we had been looking up through their Tomahawk Grill. And I reached out to them to see if they would need any support. Very interesting thing going on there. The gentleman there is an international knife throwing champion out in Mixburg. So as a former axe throwing coach, I was very intrigued by that. So I reached out to them to see if we could help them out and connect them with Lanny as well from Forged in Canada, because I think those two will definitely be interested in what they're doing with a blacksmith, and knife throwing and axes seems to go hand in hand. So they also have an opening on Thursdays and Fridays in the summer. If people are interested in trying that out, you can go there for free and throw some axes and throw some knives. And then they also are going to be hosting the International Knife Throwing competition later in August. So that's going to be great for economic development of our area. Newsletters. So double bubble this month for newsletters. So the e-newsletter went out on February 1st, and the 2024 Winter Spring edition should be in your mailboxes. And it's completed and mailed out with the tax bills. So just some statistics from the February e-newsletter. We had a total of 641 recipients, with the top links being, of course, the budget, the calendar, and the Four Seasons Trail. Just some other quick things here. I was involved with the summer student interviews on February 27th. Continuing to do onboarding and training, just the little nuts and bolts that kind of come with the job, as well as some Zen City training, which we're trying to do from surveys through. And then, of course, all the other listings here of stuff that I've been doing, most of which are included in my report. And that is everything for my report.
Thank you very much, Chris. Very involved. Sounds like you're having fun.
Yes, absolutely.
We had a chance to talk today and at the OPV meeting, and yeah, you're really on the ball, and it's great to have you aboard.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion, Dean?
No, not for that, no.
Okay, recreation. I know Nevada's not
Yeah,
here.
Nevada's a bit under the weather. Her report is there. She also had a very busy month there. If there's any questions, I can take back to her. I am going to add, unfortunately, at the last minute, we did have to cancel the fishing derby, just for fear that, not that there wasn't going to be enough ice, because that was not the situation, but just the conditions around it. The icy, or like no snow covered, access to the lake was a little more difficult. So we just took to reduce the liability to the township, we just decided, unfortunately, that we had to cancel that. So that's unfortunate, but we will certainly be bringing it back, because I know there was certainly enough registrants. So we'll kind of move that forward to next year. But other than that, I think, like I said, Nevada's been very busy. She's had lots of activities, and she's doing some great work with the committees. So if there's any questions, you can reach out directly to her, or certainly put them to me, and I'll make sure something gets clarified if need be.
Okay, and the draft is there from the February 1st meeting that apparently went very well.
Yeah.
So there'll be more of those. Down the subcommittees, Friends of the Disabled.
We're going to have a couple of fundraising events coming up in lieu of the polar bear dip. We have a paint night that's scheduled. It's going to be held at the fire department. We do have a max of 25, so if you feel like being artsy that night, that would be the night to come out. And then we're also going to be holding, the date is not secure yet or the location, but I think we're going to do a pancake breakfast. There is a couple of ideas, but it's just not confirmed yet. I just want to share some stats on how huge the ridership has gone up in Laurentian Valley. So overall, the wheelchair trips are from 55 up from 52 last year. In Laurentian Valley alone, though, we went from 4 to 14, so that's pretty huge. The ambulatory trips are 523 up from 353, so up almost 200 over the year. Ridership in Laurentian Valley has increased from 34 up to 59. Overall ridership is up 43% as compared to this time last year, and just in Laurentian Valley, it's actually up 94% compared to this time in 2023. So I thought those would be very interesting stats.
It certainly shows there's a need for it, that's
Yeah, it's growing and continuing to grow.
wonderful. Okay, Shady Nook Rec?
Shady Nook, the minutes are there from the January meeting. We had our March meeting was last night, and soccer is wrapped up hockey is wrapped up for the year at this point, and soccer registration will be open later on this month. And that's kind of the big thing for the year, so lots of things happening, but everything's looking good at Shady Nook. Any questions on the...
Brian, when they register for soccer or hockey, do they ask where they live?
It's all done online, so
Okay.
they're...
Home addresses are there?
Yeah, it
Okay.
would all be there.
All right.
Yeah, certainly, there are people from outside the municipality that participate in soccer
absolutely.
in Shady Nook, because it is a relaxed,
Setting.
fun place for kids to start into the soccer.
Good. Questions for Brian? Allison Fraser?
Similar to Brian, everything, our rink is pretty much done right about now. I have to give Morel kudos, because again, we had amazing ice this year, so, and it lasted a lot longer than we figured, so kudos. We are getting ready for minor ball. I noticed a couple of announcements go up on Facebook for the date for registration for kids minor ball. Again, registration is via, so they'd have the addresses if we do need to go down that road and take a look
Okay.
at that. And we've got a meeting coming up the end of the month where we're going to be meeting with the different ball groups, the mixed league, men's league, brand new ladies league starting back again this year, which is amazing. We've got 6 teams coming, so I think we're going to get a lot of use out of our ball diamonds this year. But other than that, nothing at this point.
Good, thank you. Forest League, Keith?
I have nothing to report there.
Okay. Pleasant View? Okay. Stafford?
So we had a meeting last night. Our meetings are not like any other meeting that any other committee that I've ever sat on. So we don't have minutes and we don't have a lot. So last night Nevada joined us and it was, we need to kind of get some minutes, and we don't ask when someone rents the hall. There's nothing on their form to do that, so we're gonna start doing that as well. And Party in the Park is July 27th this year.
Good, thank you. Skating trail? Mark, I guess we're closed. The weather did not cooperate.
Yeah, so maybe not the best year with a lot of outdoor winter events, but pretty proud of the days we were able to open, and lots of sponsored nights and special activities, and I think we fared quite well. I know we were hopeful to get last Thursday night in with some cooling temperatures, but just didn't work out that way. So yeah, there's skating trails closed for now. There's lots of people who are still walking on the snowshoe trail. Unfortunately, with the weather, there isn't a lot of snow anymore, but at least it's there for walking, so people are still there and active. So, yeah.
I attended the family day and it was very successful again with, I don't know what the numbers were, but there were a lot of people there, so.
Yeah,
It was good, great to see the families out, and
Yeah.
they really enjoyed it and very complimentary again, so. Okay, Fit and Feisty, Keith?
Actually, Nevada had in her write-up a great report. Their membership is now over 400, I see, and they just keep going. And they've got monthly events posted online for everybody to see, and they're doing great. And actually, there was a bit for Forestry Park on there as well that they're thinking of making a trail around the outside of the track.
Okay, thank you. And county council summary is in your agenda or in your package. Any questions for Keith on that? Brian?
So under the delegations there, they're talking about a merger of district health units. What units are merging or proposed to be merging?
The province has put out that they would like to see less number of health units. What has happened so far is that they're looking, there was some resistance at first to it all, but there is some, I guess, discussions going on with North Bay, and the conversations are going to continue with Leeds, Lanark area as well. They figure that it's kind of a very broad situation, because if you don't join, you don't get any extra funding, or you get 1% a year, where they figure if you do join and combine, then they're going to advance that target more. So Medical Officers Health, who is new, he gave a great presentation, and there's nothing taken for granted one way or another yet. They're still investigating, and a decision will be made later.
It kind of seems that it was a large organization, and then they broke it down into smaller groups, and now it's going back up again, or it's almost a cycle.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be much more different than going back a few years when the amalgamation of municipalities was taking place.
My other question for you, Keith, the warden has taken on the chair of the warming center in Pembroke, and in discussions with them, the warming center is kind of the result of some addiction challenges with a number of the people that are there, and there isn't an addiction treatment center in the county. So I'm wondering, is there any discussions at the county level about addressing the core issue that's causing some of this homelessness, and trying to get these people off this cycle, and putting a treatment center in the county?
Specifically, that I'm not aware of. What is happening, though, is that the four community services, paramedics, are joint working out, trying to contact these people, see why they are where they are, do an evaluation. They're seeking mental health, and again, trying to get to the bottom of where all this is coming from and how best to treat it. There's an actual team that has been put together with a mental health specialist and a paramedic to visit each of the sites and to talk to these people.
Yeah, I guess it's the next step, though, which is the treatment center, to actually be able to, it's one thing to console them and you know, keep them alive, but it's another thing to actually treat them and get them cleaned up and rolling, and then just thinking that it's the county's job to maybe spearhead some sort of a treatment center too.
I will check into that further then, Councillor.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else for Keith? Okay. Council comments? I have one. So Dean and myself and Chris attended the OPP session this morning. As it was brought to your attention before, the province has dictated that we will have, the report is on your desk, that we will have a detachment. Pembroke is on their own. They still stay the same, so does Petawawa. Our detachment is gonna consist of Laurentian Hills, Laurentian Valley, and Head Clare Mariah. There will be 5 on this board, 1 council member from each, 1 community member from the 3 municipalities, and then 1 provincial appointee. Brand new for all 3 of our municipalities. There are 4 other municipalities in the surrounding area that are, I don't know, Dean, how we're gonna explain this, but they're part of us, but they're not part of us, I guess the area is.
They're policed by our detachment, they're policed by the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment, but they're also policed by Renfrew, so they've chosen to go to Renfrew route to be represented at the Renfrew level, but they don't have any representation, but they are, parts of their community are still part of our group, but they don't have any representation on the local board, the Police Services Board. I just wanted to make sure we're not changing detachments, maybe the mayor kind of alluded to that, but it's more that this is a service board that the province is being split up on all these service boards, so every community will be part of one of these detachment boards, depending on where you sit and form. So that's basically where we're representing, as Steve mentioned, Admaston, Bromley, North Algona, and Whitewater, and the 3 of us, Laurentian Hills, Head Clare Mariah, and ourselves. But the 3 of those first ones that I mentioned do not have representation on our board.
So if you remember a number of years ago, we were asked where we wanted to be fit in on the detachment board, so we had sent in the list like everybody else did. We're told today that by April 1st, we have to have a council appointee. And soon after, the 3 appointees will then meet, set up the rules and follow the rules and regulations, learn the process, elect 1 community member. It was suggested by the gentleman that did the presentation today that, it's hard to get 1 member for 3 communities, or actually 7, I guess. It was suggested maybe, Laurentian Valley picks 1 for 1 year, and then Laurentian Hills picks somebody in their area for 1, and so forth. I don't know, at the end of the morning, Dean and I just kind of looked at each other and Chris go, wow, there's so much information here. Last minute, because now we're hearing about it, they want us to get going by the 1st. I kind of said at the end, this is kind of ridiculous. Is there a pushback to move this, give us more time to get organized, but there isn't any. Dean suggested just put us in jail and we're not going to do a detachment at all. That didn't go over well. So we are going to push forward, and we're going to come back with much more information. But the reason why I brought it up tonight, I know it only happened this morning, but we need to come up with a council representative for this detachment board. They meet 4 times a year.
Yeah, minimum 4 times.
Minimum 4 times a year. I'm sure you heard about the Pembroke Police Services Board, but whatever. Being brand new, we will certainly get support from Steph, our inspector, from this gentleman at the presentation today, setting up this board, but I am looking for a council member to sit on that board. There is some remuneration involved as well.
No, only for the provincial appointee.
Only provincial?
Well, and then the committee can decide if it wants
If they want to pay themselves.
themselves and the community board, but we do have to pay the provincial appointee according to legislation.
Which is not a lot of money.
Well, you can put
$600.
whatever you want, but it'll be at least 100, like, I think they have a minimum of 150 per meeting or something.
Yeah. Okay. Jennifer?
What time? Is it day, night?
I have no idea. Nothing,
No.
it's very early in the process. As he said today, I don't know, his name was
Graham White.
Inspector, he's gonna be overseeing all these detachment boards being set up. He said, I know April 1st is supposed to be the deadline, but, we're not gonna knock on your door March 31st to say, are you set up? So it's gonna be a learning process. I think it'd be interesting. Yeah, I know. Go ahead, Brad.
Your concern about rotating the 1 individual around from one township to another, I don't think that's going to be your issue, having sat on the previous board for 8 years. The issue is to get anybody out to the meetings.
Understand that. No, that's just a suggestion.
We would fight to get enough for a quorum for most meetings, some of the smaller municipalities, it was,
Yeah, but-
it was hard to get them out, so I think
This is.
If you can get
this is
somebody to-
mandatory,
Yeah.
this board, 3 council members, 1 at large in the 7 community, 1 total.
Yep.
Of the 7.
Yep.
So you only need 1. So I would assume, from what we listened today, that, you know, the three municipalities get their council member each. You then sit down, determine how you're gonna proceed from there. Follow the rules, the guidelines, with support from.
Yeah, and they basically said that they want the 3 municipal appointees, because they know they can get those, they'll be appointed, and then that's quorum, so we'll have quorum at that point. The provincial appointee could be now to 20 months, they're not sure how long it's because they're not in a place to pick these provincial appointees, not sure, they will not be a police officer, there's a list of things they can't be, and not justice of the peace, and, you know, some background, so there's a bunch of that. The mandate of this committee right now is very unclear, the police is not a participant in the thing. They may be an invitee and come, but they're not a participant in this board. This board is supposed to, not direct either, that's the wrong word, to suggest and make suggestions depending on their communities to the police, the OBP. But the police is not mandated to do any of this work that is given to them. So it is a very, very different scenario, and I don't know how it's going to materialize.
No different than the other one. The only
No.
difference with the other one is that at least the detachment commander
Was-
sat in on
yeah,
the meeting.
yeah.
Now they're not gonna be
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
so you're even gonna have less. Like,
Yeah, no, exactly.
Well, they will be at some of it, or I assume they're gonna be at a lot of them, because that's where, unless we meet with them afterwards, but the whole idea is like, you know, policing or watch an area or whatever. The board will come up with suggestions as to what the Upper Ottawa Valley Police are gonna do. So, and I said to staff at the end of the meeting, I said, this is so much like the last group, but now we're regulated. Why didn't you just leave it the old way?
Yeah.
But it's not happening. It's, again, even they're kind of making excuses why all of a sudden it's dropped down, and you've got 3 weeks to put this board together, and anyways.
Is there gonna be any type of, support, like somebody to take the minutes, to do any of the stuff that the committee suggests, like?
Well, they talked briefly about that and basically said, like, if one of the municipalities want a volunteer staff member, then the group then can decide that we'll distribute those costs over the 6 municipalities. But the other municipalities, the ones that have 2 detachments, they're gonna pay twice, like, it's not, I don't see that happen, like, so Mayor Dunny was there, and I kinda made the comment, I'm not sure if Mayor Dunny was gonna wanna pay twice, like, you know. But, so, that's certainly an issue, but that's the way they're mandating it, I mean, if we get it, we'll need somebody, and this gentleman, he would certainly sit in to get it going, he will come to the meetings, and I did ask if there was any legislative requirement to see whether they had to be in person or they could be virtually, and they can be virtually, so that's maybe a little easier to have these meetings, you know, you can do them virtually, so that might be some value there at some points, but anyway, there's a little bit of it's moving around, there's a lot of moving parts. All we're told is, you know, April 1st, at least have those 3 members appointed, so you have quorum, and then try and meet and see if you can develop policies. They have a whole list of things you gotta do, but there's enough work there, I don't know, I'm not sure how it's gonna work, to be honest.
So, I'm not asking you right now, but, well, I am kind of, but, if anybody's interested, talk to me about it after, okay? Any other council comments? If not, move into a closed session.
Okay, mover and a seconder.
Jennifer and Alan.
Moved by Councillor Goche, second by Councillor Wren, that the council and committee meeting on March 5th, 2024 be moved into closed session at 7 p.m. Chaired by Mayor Bennett according to Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Section 239.2, Section 239.3, Section 239.3.1, in order to address a matter pertaining to the security of property of the municipality and local board.
All in favor? Carried. Take 5.
Take 5.
Okay, welcome back to open session of council, March 5th. Dean.
Mover and second, and move back in.
Brian and Wendy.
Moved by Counselor Ugly, second by Counselor Hewitt, that the council committee meeting on March 5th, 2024, move back into open session at 8 p.m.
All in favor?
Adjournment.
Adjournment. Betty and Keith.
Moved by Counselor King, second by Reeve Watt, that the council committee meeting on March 5th, 2024 be adjourned at 8 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good
Make
night.
sure we're up.